This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WPSL. However, we are the ones who've encouraged you all along to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Port Pierce and hosted by Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having an incredible morning. I feel very calm this morning. I'm not sure why, like a really nice, peaceful calm. Maybe because I pretty much gave up caffeine. Did I mention that a couple weeks ago, that was my goal?
You were going to cut the caffeine, and you have, and now you're wondering, what's this amazing but strange calmness?
Huh? It feels absolutely incredible when your body's not jumping from within. It's like, ooh, I just feel normal. I like that normal.
See, you cut out the caffeine, and just imagine all the breath work that replaces it by itself.
Right, exactly. I'm watching this show, and they're all like lawyers and stockbrokers, and they're drinking the caffeine all day long, and they're like jumping out of their skin and just like living on the edge of every moment. I'm like, woo, that's a heart attack waiting to happen. Well, today's topic, once again, is picked because of how I struggle in my family sometimes with my knowledge and the choices that we are making. So when I present this information, I'm coming from a vulnerable place that I know how difficult sometimes these choices are, especially with children. But I want to put the information out there so at least you can have the information and decide for yourselves what's best for you and your family. So the topic is, drum roll, you like that drum roll?
Yeah, that works.
Is about why to avoid sugar, which I've spoken about quite often, but more specifically, sugary drinks. But first, sir, we must do the breath work, because even though I feel calm and relaxed and focused, some of our listeners might feel a little scattered or anxious, or their blood pressure might be spiking. So if you're new to the show, welcome. We do this every time we begin the show. The breathwork exercise of this month is box breathing method. So we are going to use, only using our nose, we're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 5, release for 5, and then hold for 5 again. So just like 4 sides of a box. And this works to help lower our blood pressure, help us focus, calm our nerves, and just help us get more oxygen in, increase our immune system. And so if you participate, I really appreciate it, and you can do it the whole show. All right, are we ready?
I guess so. 5, 5, 5, and 5.
Yep, so let's drop our shoulders, relax them, just really ease our forehead and our eyes. If you can, close your eyes if you're not driving.
Please, if you're driving, do not close your eyes, but let it all out.
All right, I'm ready if you are.
All right, ready for the intake? Here we go. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, in.
Hold.
Oh, hold, I'm sorry. 2,
you always
4,
forget that part.
5. Yeah. Okay.
Now in.
In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you.
And you've done it. Give yourself.
Thank you. And believe it or not, that hold is just as important as the other parts, because that is where we're not used to it. Right. We're not used to holding our breath. We're used to just this shallow in and out. And so that's why it's important.
When we do hold our breath, we usually inhale first and then hold our breath.
Yep.
This one requires that we hold our breath after we've exhaled. Now that's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, really important to do breath work, no matter what you're facing in life, or you're just trying to prevent and maintain a healthy life. It's always important. So I saw a post about the new pumpkin drinks that are offered by all the most popular franchises. And boy, do they sound incredible, look incredible, and for most people's liking, they taste incredible. There is an issue though, and it is, of course, the sugar grams. Now, it might seem obvious to everyone that they're sweet, sugary drinks and maybe only used occasionally, especially if you're listening to my show, then you probably have the awareness about sugar already and you're careful. But there are many people out there that don't realize how quickly the sugar adds up. So, whether this information may be needed for yourself or your friend or your loved one or a coworker, it's okay to kind of share this information because if you gently say it from a place of kindness and love, they might really open their eyes or have that light bulb moment like, wait a second, wow, that is why I'm feeling this way or why I'm experiencing this symptom. And it's not anything serious if they just avoid their beverage of the day. So let's just start with children. So 33% of our children are obese. I do believe that number has climbed since that statistic. It does take, sometimes a couple years for statistics to catch up to Google. But 33% is the number that I got. It's very sad. Like in my children's schools, I see so many of them that are type 2 diabetic that the nurse, they need larger storage lockers for all the medication for the children now, not just insulin or metformin or other type of glucose meds, but for all different situations, whether it be ADD, ADHD, anxiety. These children's schools, nurses, lockers for medications are getting bigger and bigger. And I remember when I was young, they were tiny. They were tiny. They were like those little tiny. Let me clear my throat for a second. Okay, thank you, sir. So I remember, I don't know if you remember, Cliff, but the it was like tiny. It was almost like in my school, like I think there was maybe 2 kids in the whole school that needed like insulin or some medication. And
Yeah,
yeah, and we
vaguely.
always wondered, why are they going, to the nurse's office? They really stood out because they were not the norm. Now it's the norm. It's really the norm to have those little kits that the nurse helps administer. So that's a scary statistic. The other statistic that I also think might come home to a lot of parents and adults is that pediatric dentistry. So here's a field that, years ago really wasn't as popular as it is now. Now, pediatric dentists might have 10, 15 surgeries scheduled in one day. Pediatric dentistry, like the name implies, is for children. And most of the time, what are they doing surgery for? Toddlers taking teeth out that have already decayed. So again, I think this statistic is low, but about 30,000 2 years ago dental procedures. So 30,000 children removing teeth that were decayed because of lifestyle choices. And that number is very alarming to me, and I hope it is to you too. So, and this is when it gets a little scarier. So, if there was one child, 2 years old, started the parents started giving them sugary drinks, okay, and they weren't specific on which sugary drinks, so sugary beverages, and in 6 months, half of the child's teeth decayed in 6 months. Okay, so now that's what you see. Okay, and those, yes, everyone's like, well, they're going to get their adult teeth in anyway, so no big deal. Let's just take them out. All is good. But unfortunately, not. So the things that you see under the gums, inside the body, is what's worrisome. And that's what we're really going to cover. That sometimes that attitude, oh, sugar is love, sugar is reward, that whole moderation mindset that has come in my world too. I don't think there's a place for it right now with the beverage industry. So let's just think about, why are all these beverages available, right? So that is because marketing companies are being told by their audience, which is us, our consumers, that we want sweeter and sweeter beverages. So we are the ones that are pushing this terrible glucose train. It's not necessarily the corporations making them, because if they made this super sweet drink and no one bought it, then obviously they would go out of business. So some people, especially in my industry, we love to point at the big guys and say, this is all your fault because you're making these sugary drinks. But if people drank them and didn't like them, they wouldn't buy them, and then they would have to change their product. But we are buying them by the droves. I mean, you look at any of those coffee shops lines, or I always talk about the convenience stores at 3 p.m., the the magnitude of consumers buying sweet beverages, not only in the morning, but in the afternoon. It's insane. So we are driving the dollars right to their decision makers, saying, okay, they're loving it, they're doing it. So we need to really consider that, that yes, I wish they didn't make it and we never had this conversation, but it's real and we are driving the dollars to those beverages. All right, so and of course we're going to talk about all those beverages in a second. The other statistic that, not a statistic, but right now they're saying that a child should have 4 teaspoons of sugar a day. Now, nutrition experts say it should be 0, but of course they have to do a little give and take, because they know that in this society, if they ever said 0 teaspoons, they would get scorned. You know, no one would ever accept that number. The reason they're saying 0 sugar is because they're talking about added sugar. They're not talking about all the natural sugar that nature provides, like in a real piece of fruit, or in, if you break down a natural bowl of steel cut oatmeal or organic long grain brown rice. Those carbohydrates, just like fruits and vegetables, will break down into your natural glucose. Well, with the exception of fruit, I mentioned fruit, that's fructose, but I know that my listeners understand what I'm getting at. You're basically getting plenty of sugar in your day without ever adding a processed spoonful of sugar to your day. So that's why true nutritionists that know the deal would always love to say 0 teaspoons of added sugar into your day. But right now they're agreeing to 4, right? 4. For men, it's 9 teaspoons, and for women, it's 6. Okay. So now you have some number. Okay. Now, Cliff, how many teaspoons do you think the average person uh, consumes a day of sugar? So, how many extra teaspoons?
Extra teaspoons a day. You mean beyond what they should?
No, I'm sorry. Did I say extra? I didn't mean to say extra. How many teaspoons a day does the average American consume a day?
Well, you're talking about, what was it, 4 for men?
Well, a man gets 9. So
9.
how many do you think the person consumes?
I'll bet they can consume twice that much.
32 grams. So
Whoa.
almost 4 times as much. Now, of
Wow.
course, some of us are really good and never consume sugar, and then the other person is consuming 60 grams, but that's the average. I do also believe that number is low because I see just in my immediate world that that number is doubled on a daily basis, and these are by normal, healthy, conscious people. So, right? Crazy, 60 grams. All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about some of the beverages. And Cliff, do you mind participating?
I don't
So,
mind.
all right.
I don't have to
So,
drink any sugar, do I?
because, yep, no sugar.
Okay.
All right, so I have a list of what, again, in my circle, in my neighborhood, of very popular beverage items, okay? And I know in different areas throughout the country and the world, it's all different, but here's some common ones. So Panera, they make a strawberry mint lemonade. So by the name, right, you think health, strawberry, mint, right, lemonade. How many grams, oh, not grams, sorry, we're going by teaspoons. How many teaspoons of sugar do you think is in one of those?
Hmm. Now, when they measure grams of sugar, do they
So,
measure, is
so
it the weight?
one spoonful of
Yeah.
sugar, 1 teaspoon is 4 grams of sugar. Okay,
Oh,
but for this conversation on the radio, I thought it might be easier for the listeners to visualize a spoonful versus grams.
okay.
So, so how many teaspoons do you think are in that?
Oh my. Well, I would say probably about 3.
20.
20.
20. Now,
No
I
wonder
I
every.
sit at Panera a lot
Yeah.
with the children, and I see many families there. And I also see, because we have the tradition path where people walk and
Yeah.
jog and really doing getting some good healthy exercise, they refill those large. So they drink one, they're thirsty, they just walk the lake, and then they refill and consume another one.
Ooh,
So that's 40 grams. So, oh, I keep saying grams. I'm so used to grams. 40 teaspoons,
40
okay,
teaspoons.
which is about 200 grams of sugar. Isn't
Wow.
that crazy, right? So, yeah, so 40 teaspoons. Okay, so here's another one. Okay, so I have so many friends that their kids, especially when their kids are getting into teen years, love Taco Bell. So the Baja Blast, they have a promotional picture of it in the car line. Love the idea of it. How many teaspoons do you think are in that one?
Oh, I dare not guess, but
Right?
but
I'll give you a hint. Go up.
oh my goodness,
Go up from the last one. 27 teaspoons.
27 teaspoons.
27 teaspoons, right?
Is
All
there any
right.
room for anything else in the drink?
Yes. Now, when we went on our summer vacations, Starbucks was our go-to.
Mhm.
We do love their triple filtered water. They give it to you free when you order. So, Matt and I were really trying to be good with consuming water. The kids absolutely love their strawberry lemonade. Once again, sounds healthy. It's lemonade. It's not soda pop, right? So, how many teaspoons do you think on that one?
Oh my goodness.
Now, that one is a little lower,
Well,
just to give you a hint.
'cause they're so blatant with it all these days.
Now, 15 teaspoons.
15
15
teaspoons.
teaspoons. Okay. Now, sometimes when we tell them that they can have a dessert type drink there, they usually pick the Frappuccinos. The Frappuccinos are 20 teaspoons. Okay, so let's go back to what I said earlier. A child's supposed to have 4 teaspoons. An adult, a man, men get more than the female. I'm not sure
I
about
wonder
that, but
why.
that's
Is
so
that some
right.
kind
So
of
that's
discrimination?
right, total, right? So that's 9. So let's just say we all, because sometimes, like I said, obesity is on a rise and a lot of children are obese. So let's just say they have an adult weight. Still, it's double. And this is just one of their beverages in the day. That's not their whole day or anything else they're eating. Um, but let me see if okay, so now I'm going to go to orange juice. okay? Because so many moms will, like I see even in the bagel store, they will choose for their children, oh, get juice, don't get the soda pop. And so I picked a simple, tiny little bottle of orange juice for this exercise. I mean, tiny. It's like the smallest orange juice. You don't really see them in any stores. All the orange juices in most stores are double this size. But even that has 7 teaspoons. And the smallest little orange juice, like those ones that, it's almost like a trial size. Okay, so I wanted to use that example. But now another example that kids are ordering at restaurants, okay, especially around here, Cliff. What do you always hear your friends and family members order around? Oh, wow, that New York accent just came out. Um, order around here. I'll give you a hint. It's dark and you add lemon to it.
It's dark and you add lemon to it?
Yep. Tea.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say beer, but that'd be German beer.
Oh my gosh, sweet tea, sweet tea. So, sweet tea. Okay. Now, the restaurants usually serve 32-ounce cups for their sweet tea. Okay.
Wow.
So, that is going to have about 15 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Yep.
Okay. And that is depending on the restaurant. Some make it much sweeter than others, obviously. So I am going by the McDonald's recipe. So if a child's saying, "Oh, mom, I won't get the soda, but can I have the sweet tea instead?" Just so you know, that still has 15 grams. And how many refills do we see? I see throughout all the restaurants I go to, all these people refilling their teacups. It's absolutely crazy.
I always wondered how kids could run circles around their grandparents all day long without getting tired.
Yes, and we're going to go through the side effects of all that glucose, and you just mentioned one of them. But I do want to talk about the tea because a lot of people right now are picking tea instead of colas, and the tannins in the tea. Okay, I want you to be aware, especially if you're drinking them with your food. It blocks the absorption of iron, zinc, and calcium and B1. So iron, zinc, calcium, B1, the tannins in tea block that. So if you are getting reports from whether you be your pediatrician or your doctor that something is low in your body, especially your calcium, your zinc, and your iron, then it could just be because of the consumption of tea. But why I want to mention this on this show about sugar and pediatrics is because the tea, and this also goes for unsweet tea, is also blocking the absorption of B1. B1 deficiency has been shown to cause anxiety, okay, and restless leg syndrome. Now, whether you're a parent or not, how many young children do you see scrolling on their phones that are literally shaking their leg like there's no tomorrow? I see it all the time with my children's friends and sometimes in my own children's, sadly.
That's caused by sugar?
Yeah, well, sugar, but also tannins. So that's why I'm mentioning this, because it's not just about sugar. It's also caused by B1 deficiency. So glucose creates B1 deficiency, but tannins in tea. So any of your Earl Grey, your black teas, anything that's a dark tea leaf, they will block the absorption of B1. So anxiety is through the roof, not only for adults, but for our children. It's a scary statistic right now. I don't even think they can get a hold of the number because it's pretty much any child you talk to these days says they have anxiety. And their leg is shaking and they're having trouble sleeping and they're literally restless leg syndrome. I had it one time when I was a young adult, and I remember I was trying to watch a musical And the people in front of me literally turned around and said to my mother, "Can you get her to stop doing that?" It was so embarrassing because this was not an inexpensive musical. My mom treated me in New York one time a year to do an afternoon musical, but I could not control my legs. I literally could not control them. I had to get up and walk to stop the feeling. And I know if anyone has had restless leg syndrome, they sympathize with me because it's the worst feeling when you can't control one of your body parts. And by simply getting rid of the tannins, you might be able to get your B1 normalized. So just supplementing it away will not work because you can take all the supplements you want, but if you're blocking the absorption, you're still going to block it and you still won't be able to utilize it. So I really did want to mention that. And if I can give you a couple more reasons why not to drink unsweet tea or sweet tea as well, is it's full of heavy metals, aluminum, arsenic, and over 29 different chemicals from pesticides.
Wow.
Right? So so if you think your child's guzzling down this unsweet tea and it's like, oh, it's fine. I got decaffeinated, or, I got sugar free. It's still an issue, okay? And I've made these mistakes. My daughter has ordered, unsweet tea a few times, and I was like, oh, what's the big deal? It's like, it's just a couple times. But anxiety, we don't want to see ourselves or anyone that we love suffer with anxiety, especially if it's self-induced. We have enough challenges that we're not self-inducing. We don't need to purposely do that. And okay. Oh, I also want to mention Sprite before we go on. And then after I mention the Sprite statistic, Cliff, if we can take a quick break, I
Sure.
can
We're ready at all times.
yes, get my breath. All right. So the Sprite is 13 teaspoons of sugar. So many parents order Sprite because it's clear, thinking it's a better alternative. So absolutely not. So again, like I mentioned at the first part of the show, I'm coming from a vulnerable spot. I am making no judgment because as a parent of four, it gets really tricky trying to navigate convenience of food, affordability of food, and also having your kids not roll their eyes at you every second of each day. So again, just let's hear this information and just see where we can just step it up a little notch. All right, I'll be right back after the break. Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Crass Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We now return to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce. Once again, here's your host, Joanne Seeger.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me this morning. I do have a question for my listeners, and you can come in the store and visit me or call the store 464-3598. But our wellness center just went through a little tiny bit of construction to make one more healing room. So when you walk into the wellness center, There's one large open space and like little like a lobby area, and then past that is where we have 4 ion foot detox stations, and to the right we have a very large massage room, and then a beautiful pulse electromagnetic frequency room, and then to the left in the front is our infrared sauna. We just got a nice new one, replaced the 2-person and got a larger 3-person. Now we have created a 4th room. So in that 4th room, I would love to get any ideas and feedback. So I know my loyal listeners like Marlene, good morning, and Melanie, these are all my loyal listeners. I have so many, so I really appreciate you all. I would love some feedback. So before I start purchasing any equipment, now I will give you a hint where I'm biased to, but I'm okay with stepping outside my box. So I wanted to get a sound healing room done. So that would be a beautiful, like acoustic bed. Sound healing is going to be the topic of my show in 2 weeks. And it's absolutely incredible, amazing research done with the sound healing. So that would just be an acoustic bed you lay on, you put a headset on. Sometimes with sound healing therapy, you go into a space kind of like a yoga room, and a practitioner will come in and do like Tibetan bowls or gongs or all these different sounding forks. But this would be the bed and the headset doing all the work. But if there's any ideas that you think could be a perfect fit for my wellness center, I would love your input. We're trying to get it done before our season starts, which is late October. So again, I really would love to hear from my listeners. 464-3598. I'm so excited because we just made another access to the restroom to make that room private. And Matt is painting right now as we speak. So he's working hard. So I love you, honey. Thank you. Okay. So here we go. We are talking about sugar in beverages. I could probably talk for hours about sugar in general, like I have about the poisonous merits of sugar. But I absolutely know my listeners know that sugar is bad in general. But what I don't like about the beverage industry is it offers no nutritional content. Even the drinks that mask themselves with, oh, there's some acai in there, or I can't even, like, there's a little moringa in there, or a little matcha. That does not make it nutritional. That is marketing campaigns to absolutely trick you. There is a documentary that's available on YouTube. I'm just literally blanking out on the name right. If you give me a call, I'll let you know what the documentary name is. And it went to the person that decides in one of the beverage companies how much sugar to put in. And they said they go by a marketing company. So, not a dietitian, not a nutritionist, not anyone that cares about our health, a marketing company. So that is to me absolutely terrible. So it's at the whim of, like, do you want to get a sugar rush? Because I know my children, they're the knowledge base is about what's exciting right now. They want the sugar high. They absolutely want it. And that's why all these energy drinks are, multi-million dollar companies now, because of course our children do not see the long-term consequence of their choices, but that's when, as parents, we need to step in. So
Does this apply to the adult beverages? Because alcohol usually is equals sugar. Do they like add sugar to some of these?
yeah.
I guess like they call it like hard lemonade or
Yes,
stuff like that.
absolutely. And as we know, children drink alcohol these days. Unfortunately, whether they're sneaking it or they're in a family that is acceptable of having it earlier than the legal age, or even if it's us and, we're grown adults just making bad choices, the alcohol is absolutely worse because if you put sugar and you mix it with alcohol, especially if it's a fruit induced sugar. So, for instance, the most popular vodka cranberry, right? Everyone thinks, oh, it's cranberry, it's tart, it must be healthier. Absolutely not, because the liver not only is getting poisoned by the alcohol, but then it's getting poisoned by the fructose, because glucose works on another system, but fructose has to go through the liver. So I'm really glad you brought this up, Cliff, because most adults do believe if they get cranberry or pomegranate, I used to be under that delusional thinking, then it's better. But anytime you even put a teaspoon of fruit sugar with your alcohol, you're double whammo to your liver, because the liver has to deal with fructose and the alcohol, which are both like pretty much a toxic overload at that moment.
When I first started reading the labels, the contents of some of these drinks, I was seeing alcohol sugars. I'm thinking some of those sugars are alcohol sugars and
Oh,
regular.
Cliff, that's different.
Is it?
So alcohol sugars are different. So there are so many different sweeteners that are trying to come into the industry to make up for sucrose or fructose, okay?
Oh, okay.
Or sometimes they will call it glucose. Like for instance, in Gatorade, it will say glucose or glucose syrup, okay, which is horrific.
Ew.
Okay, so but sugar alcohol is where they put things like maybe like a xylitol, a sweetener that might be nature based, but they don't know where to put it because it doesn't affect the body the same way as sucrose, fructose, or glucose.
Okay.
There, in my intuitive prospecting, is that sugar alcohols will have some problems in our near future. I do use them sometimes if I'm really dying for something sweet and I want a beverage. I might have something with a little stevia or erythritol in it. Or if I do xylitol, xylitol is supposed to be from birch, and I have done a radio show on xylitol. It's supposed to be from birch, but most companies are not using it from birch anymore. It's synthetically metabolized, made in a lab. So yes, that's where the sugar alcohols come in, which you definitely want to moderate them, because again, it's a processed product. It's even with stevia, it's not that green leaf that you're consuming that's just grown in your backyard garden. It's a so popular now, stevia, so it's absolutely processed and refined. The number one company that makes stevia is called Truvia, and the Truvia has starch and stevia combined. So to me, it outdoes the good and causes more problems. So anytime you go to like those coffee shops, it's usually Truvia that they offer. So again, if you're desperate, I do believe it's better than having, 43 teaspoons of sugar. So like when Matt and I are trying to be reasonable and we go to Starbucks, we will say, instead of their 9 pumps, we'll say one. We'll say one, and we barely taste it. But in that one, there's still a teaspoon of sugar,
Wow.
but, and I know I'm getting sugar in the rest of my day. So I'm probably definitely breaking my own rules, but I don't want their special drink that I just paid $9 for, with no flavor.
I suspected
So,
a little bit of dishonesty when I saw on a label one time and it said no sugar added.
yes.
And I thought, oh, there's no sugar added to this.
They do love manipulating our
yeah.
minds and tricking us.
Doesn't mean there's no
Yes.
sugar in it at all. They
Yes.
just didn't add any to it.
For beverages, especially children's beverages, It's the serving size that's the most deception. But they don't do it just with beverages. They also do it with their cookies or their brownies. If a parent turns it over, oh, this whole huge cookie, only like crumble cookie this is on them. We'll say, oh, it's only, uh, 30 grams of sugar for the whole cookie. Oh, no problem. No, that's a quarter of the cookie. Okay. So that's really scary. So 30 divided by 4, what number do we get? 7 spoonfuls for a quarter of a cookie. That's crazy.
Makes
I
me
mean,
queasy just
I
thinking
I
about it.
watched my mom make homemade cookies and brownies, and she was definitely like, she would do 1 cup for a huge like brownie pan that would be like 36 brownies.
I remember when I
Yeah.
was a kid and they'd make Kool-Aid. They'd pour like 2 cups of sugar in that little
Yeah.
Kool-Aid
They
pitcher.
even showed it in the commercials,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
With
yeah.
the
2
they were
scoops.
happily doing cups and cups of
Yeah, and
sugar.
you stir it up and
Yes.
it makes it cloudy
Yep.
until you refrigerate it and let it set and melt in the
Yes.
refrigerator. Oh.
And well, Kool-Aid, I didn't even want to bring that up because that could be a whole hour
Yeah,
on
though that's a
why
good example
never.
of misuse of sugar.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I do want to go back a little bit to the decay, the dental decay. So, like I mentioned, just because you remove the tooth, you did not remove the problem. A child's kidneys are really developing, and their job is to get poison out of the body. What damages the kidneys the most is the glucose. And so if you are having the child drink beverages that are sweet, the kidney is filtering all of that, and it is starting to make it not work effectively. So not only are you damaging the kidneys, but you are also having poisons in the body that the kidneys can't handle at this point. And that is really important to remember, because some of the issues that you would see just because of that sweet beverage, you will end up bringing your child to a pediatrician and they will end up getting medicated for what that one beverage could have just be avoided. I'm getting a little tongue tied because this really upsets me, because some people think that it can't be that simple. Their children's anxiety, depression, insomnia, constipation, vision issues. It can never be that one beverage, but it absolutely can. But one example I want to give you, and I have my husband look up the sugar grams. So let me see if I got it here. So I had him look up the sugar grams of what an ordinary day, and I didn't do a really bad day for a child. And some of our children have had this day. So again, just putting that out there. So a normal, healthy, what you might think healthy breakfast sandwich, okay? So that's over 1 teaspoon, okay? An Uncrustable, okay? That one would be 4 teaspoons, okay? And then 1 tiny bag of the natural gummies, the little tiny Welch's natural gummies, that's another 4 teaspoons. And then a small yogurt, a snack after school, right? That would be about 6 spoonfuls. And then dinner being mac and cheese and nuggets, 1 spoonful, but tons of carbohydrates that are going to turn into sugar. So without even counting that. So I didn't do the math, but I think we get the hint. That is a day without ice cream. That is a day without a frappuccino. That is a day without sweet tea or a tiny little Sprite, or right? And I didn't even start the day with what's more common, which would be waffles with syrup or French toast with syrup. So these are really scary numbers. So if we really start looking at this, our dollars will vote for what happens next. If we stop buying the sweet beverages for our children, They won't, I mean, I run a retail store. I know how the system works. If the slot doesn't empty, I don't reorder. So if everyone stops buying their kids those big, huge Gatorades, the big, huge orange juice, the big, huge sweet teas, then those slots won't empty. They won't reorder. The companies will say, oh, that number's down. Let's rethink and let's make something new. And the health trend is coming back. People are concerned about their health now. So if we really vote with our dollars, change can absolutely happen. Now, I do want to leave with some positive beverages, right? And so I am really struggling because there's only one option that I've been making at home, one option. And
Oh my.
some of my listeners might be thinking, but wait a second, Joanne, I go into all these big, huge health food box stores and they have tons of beverages in their cooler choice. It's like sparkling water with pomegranate and carbonated this and carbonated that. But if you've been listening to Bert on my show over this last year, and he comes on every month, he explained what carbonic acid is. That's that beautiful carbonation system. That is going to wreak havoc on our pH and our bones and our organs. So I'm so sorry because I absolutely love carbonated beverages sometimes. It's like, especially living in Florida and with all this heat, I mean, it feels so refreshing, a nice big thing of ice and some sparkling lemon water. But unfortunately, carbonic acid for our children will rob them of really important mineralization that needs for their bones, and our soil and our food supplies are already deficient in minerals. Let's not make it worse. And again, oh my gosh, I could cry thinking of having a lifetime without carbonation, but make it just a couple times a week. Like, do not make it a daily thing where you're just having them drink that instead of water. So water wins every time. And there are beverage holders that you can infuse the water bottle, or have the family pitcher where you can put, like I have in mine right now, lemon and raspberries. It makes it a little more exciting for the kids to drink the water. But my number one suggestion for families is to go buy a bunch of natural herbal teas. So our go-to right now is called mango passion fruit. So you just brew the tea bags, make it really concentrated. So I'll have 6 tea bags and I'll like let it steep for as long as I can until it almost gets cool on the kitchen counter. And then I'll put it in the fridge, and then I'll put in the whole pitcher with lots of ice and more water. And so that way it has a color, a natural color, and it has a flavor. And then you can add some lemon wedges. And if a family is coming off a sugar addiction, which most American families would be, you can add a little. Like, so if they're used to drinking orange juice in the morning, a great big, glass that might have 8 spoonfuls of sugar in it, put in their tea, 2. You're still cutting way back, and it still will taste decent to them. And it usually only takes a few days to get over the worst throes of sugar addiction withdrawal. And that's if you go cold turkey. If you still introduce lots of fresh fruit, like right now we have so many amazing berries and apples coming into the picture. So that is nature's way of giving us lots of sweetness. So like if you open my fridge right now as I'm trying to attempt this, there's lots of watermelon, nectarine, peaches, blackberry, strawberries. If your children are like mine and a little lazy about cutting and washing, just make that extra step. Put it on the counter. They will eat it. I promise you. And the other thing too is just try different variations. So if that one herbal tea doesn't work, there's 100 others. So 100 other flavors. Like my one daughter, she loves hibiscus, which is great for blood pressure, great for you. Never thought that a child would like the taste of hibiscus, but she absolutely loves it. So don't do the judgment for them. A lot of parents tend to do this. Oh, it's a little bitter, it's a little sour. Our bodies, when they get healthier, it intuitively will say this is right for you. I wanted to give one example. I made this huge pot of Swiss chard, and I prejudged the children and gave most of it to my husband and I, thinking because it came out, I cooked it a little too long, so it looked a little mushy, like green mush on a plate.
Swiss chard is pretty, though.
And one of my daughters came over to the table, and all it had was a little sprinkle of Celtic salt. She ate like my whole plate. Like just like standing up, just eating it. And I'm like, wow, okay, that works. I didn't want to look so astonished. But so again, as our bodies get healthier and anxiety, depression, restless leg, irritability, all these things start to lift, as I call the curtain lifts, your body will take over and it always is taking over, but then you can listen to it because not all that noise is in the way. And it will say, hey, I appreciated that plain old water. I feel so much better now. And it's just incredible how each and every day you feel better and better.
And don't assume because it's a liquid and has water in it. When water is mixed with something, it becomes that.
Absolutely.
It's no longer water when it's mixed with something.
Absolutely. There's so many people that will tell me, I say, how much water do you drink a day? And they're like, well, I have my coffee in the morning and then I have my sweet tea with lunch. And I'm like, okay, that's not water. If anything, you just dehydrated yourself 1 ounce by 4 ounces. So keep that in mind. If your children are drinking caffeinated beverages or, like I mentioned, the tannin tea products, keep an eye out. Okay, they have one short childhood to grow everything perfectly and have their body run efficiently, so they don't have consequences later in life. So we really need to look out for them. All right, guys. Once again, this was a tough one for me. I have to be held accountable as well. So love all you. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week. And we have a special guest, and it's going to be all about probiotics.
Ooh, that's a hint. That's a clue. Thank you, Joanne. Joanne Seeger from Joanne's World of Nutrition. That's the show. Brought to you by Joanne's Nutrition World, which is also a .com. If you happen to see the QR code on your screen watching the archives on YouTube, point your camera at the QR code and focus it in, and all of a sudden you'll be there. Hey, this is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world. The time and the sound of the tone will be 11 o'clock.